Hello everyone and welcome back. So one of the questions was what materials I am using for 100 days of making comics. So this is the video to answer that. I'm sorry in advance, this is going to be a little bit rambly and it's just going to be a one-shot. Hopefully that'll take my editing down a little bit because then I'll put both videos up tonight. That way everybody can see it and that way I can direct anybody here if I'm being asked what tools I'm using. So for the first part of 100 Days of Making Comics, I am working on a short story. I'm still not sure what I'm going to name it. I'm just into the painting process now. I'm actually a couple of days ahead. So I just started the painting process. I guess I should start with this. I am using Fabriano Bristol board. This here. And it's pretty good when it comes to markers, and I've used it in the past for markers and a very little amount of wet media. However, I'm finding it very challenging to use with my inks because I'll try to do a wash and it will bleed through the paper, and by that I mean it'll buckle the paper and just have these weird splotches. So it doesn't hold watercolor very well at all. Which I was under the impression that it would, because I had some experience with it before working well. And it even says that it's for use of watercolor. So I don't know, maybe it's my inks, maybe it's my heavy-handed ink washes, but it shouldn't be doing some of the things that it's doing currently. So yeah, let's get down to it. I use Staedtler Permanent F, Staedtler Pigment Liner 0.1, I have a couple of them, and then I have this chisel tip one. Oh. Yep, there we go. So I use these in the early pages. So if I am working on if I'm working on a rough, I'll use these. And then once I get past that stage, I'm generally working in my Copic multiliners. I have brush S, so small. And then I use, hold on, brush medium. Oh. Brush small, brush medium. I have also Sorry, I use my phone to record these instead of like an actual camera because I don't have the money for an actual camera right now. So 0.1, 1.0, 0.5, 0.03. I also have 0.3, but I'm not sure where it is. I've used it in a couple of the videos recently. I just can't find it on my desk. So the 0.1 I'll use for some finer detail. The 1.0 is for like really thick lines. So that's the 1.0 versus the 0.1. Let's just, make sure they get snapped back onto the right thing. And then for a lot of my medium details, I use 0.5, and my smallest, most delicate details are in the 0.03. And when I'm not working, I keep them in a nice jar like this. I am also using a Kuretake brush pen and a Pentel brush pen. And the biggest difference for me there is that this has just a finer brush tip. I like the ink a little bit better. It's very smooth. Whereas my Kuretake is a little bit fatter. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using these on the short comic that I'm working on right now, but if I do, those will definitely be in somewhere. I have my Pentel watercolor pen watercolor brush pen. There we go. I like this quite a lot. I had a couple of knockoff ones before I got this set, and I honestly thought I was going to hate watercolor brush pens or ink brush pens, but last Inktober I took a chance on them and I grabbed some, so I've been using those. I have a large assortment of brushes. They're of all types. Some of them are great, some of them, like, I have some that are expensive, I have some that are super cheap. And when I say a great assortment, I mean these are my small ones, these are some of my big ones. I have an entire bucket of them somewhere around my room, my art room as well. I kind of collect them when I don't need them anymore. I use them for like, this is completely ruined. If you can't tell by its flaring, but I'll use that for drawing gum, so masking fluid. This is another thing that I use. I'll use this to create different kinds of textures with the drawing gum. Focus, focus. Thank you. I have rulers, small and large, that I use. And then for my inks, I have a more transparent white, so it's not as opaque. I have my Winsor & Newton ink, which I got for Inktober last year. I use this sometimes, but recently I've been finding myself using this quite a bit more, which is just Pebio's India ink, because this is much cheaper than the other stuff, and I can run through it and not feel terrible. I'm not finding too much of a difference in the quality in them either, not enough for me to worry too terribly about. I also have just really cheap Indian ink in red, which I might use for some accent colors. These little, I don't know, paint pods that you would get from a dollar store. I think I have 4 of these remaining. I need to go back and get them from the $2 shop. I have my black Copic pen, which you'll see me use quite a bit. It's a brush pen, so chisel tip, brush pen, so the sketches are my favorite. I like them more than the chalk. I have silver for lining, for somewhere later in the first story's chapters. Also, I work in like little moleskin pages for my my early concepting. I'll just sketch in there because I personally hate moleskins, and if I ruin one, I don't feel bad about it. The paper's nice and smooth, sure, but it's too thin for anything that I'm ever going to work on, which means that everything can be seen through on the other side, and I hate that because I like using both sides of my paper. And I'll be using, well, I have been using this sketchbook that I got from the $2 shop. No, wait, I got this from a thrift store for like $1. So I do concepting and thumbnailing in here as well. The paper's not terrible, and I don't feel bad just scribbling things that make very little sense to anybody else in here, because $1 is so cheap for a sketchbook. So for Dragon Song, which is the one that's in here, it's going to take me much longer than I have in the 100 Days of Comics, which is why I'm doing the unnamed short comic that I'm doing currently. I just wanted to complete something, have something that I actually made in its fullest in 100 Days of Comics, so that I would have something to show for myself, whereas the other comic that I'm working on isn't going to be as out there in the public. I'll probably show like different scenes or different concept work I'm working on instead of the actual paneling. It's something that I'll have to talk to about the co-creator with it before I come out. And just so everybody knows, the co-creator is Rin Oliver, who happens to be my wife. Partner? Wife. Another thing that I'm thinking about using is using this aqua bronze. The only problem with it is I'll be scanning in the book. I don't know how well the metallic is going to come up, so I might wait on that. I'll think about it and see if I can't just add those effects in Photoshop, because hey, we live in an age where we can do multimedia, and that includes computers, so yeah. And underneath all of this is my light up light box. I use these two MDF boards to flatten my work, so make sure that they don't wrinkle. So tomorrow I'll lift this and start working on the next one, and then it'll be underneath this again. So yeah, I hope that has answered the questions about what I'm working with, a little bit maybe why I'm working with them. I hope you all have enjoyed this. If you have any questions or you want to see anything else, just let me know. I would do more than this, but honestly my brain is just a little bit tired to do it. I'm putting out 2 videos today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, night, or morning, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.